Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 4 of the Happier Mom Show. Today, we're talking about joy in motherhood. So, I'm really excited to talk about this topic because it really encompasses the foundation of what I have been teaching and sharing with moms on my blog since forever ago, like 5-6 years ago when I started blogging in the first place, which is about joy and having a sense of fulfillment in being a mom, because life is difficult, it's hard, and all the things. I don't need to tell you how hard motherhood is. You already know that, but that's why I want to have a candid conversation about joy. And first, I want to go ahead and get this right out of the way, starting right now, that this video is in no way, shape, or form meant to cause any mother pressure, nor will it be discussed in a way that is causing pressure for moms to feel like you have to enjoy every part of motherhood. And if you struggle with motherhood, this is not about making you feel full of shame or thinking there's something wrong with you if you don't, because honestly, that's why we're talking about this, because moms have a tendency to struggle with joy in motherhood. Like, I will tell you, I wrote an article in this lesson. Go grab my coffee. Hello, happiness. And I wrote an article a few months ago, and it was talking about, I think the title was Not Enjoying Motherhood. These 5 reasons might be why. And really the foundation of that post was simply to talk about the fact that, look, so many of us, depending on how you became a mother, all of us became mothers in different ways. We're not going to pretend like every mother prayed and did all the things to become a mother. We have all become mothers along different paths. So your journey isn't going to be the same as my journey or anyone else's. So how you arrived at this place, it really doesn't have anything to do with it. The fact is that you're a mother now. And I will say my story is that I prayed to be a mother. I was that little girl who desired nothing more than to be a mother, and I played with dolls, like way beyond, I think, what people may consider to be appropriate to play with dolls, and just loved the idea of being a mom my whole life. And so when I became after my husband and I decided we want to start having children, we just assumed, like everyone else, that we would just pop babies out like nothing, no issues. Well, it took us about 4.5 years to get pregnant. So we definitely had struggles with infertility, and we prayed for our children, our first daughter, to arrive into the world, and we're so grateful. But then motherhood came, and it was definitely like, whoa, this is not what I expected. I felt like I should be enjoying motherhood more than I was. I felt like I should have known how to do a lot of the things that I was struggling to know how to do. I felt like I should have had more confidence in these areas than what I did. And so I struggled a lot. And I was like, well, why? I'm that mom who wanted to be a mom. It should come easy to me, right? Well, no. And so it didn't. And if you're a mom, depending on, again, how you became a mother, you may also be struggling. Now, you may not, but if you're watching this, chances are you may be in that boat of like, well, I don't know. How do I enjoy, and what is joy in motherhood? So we're going to get into that. And I wanted to just get that out of the way. This video is not about pressuring you, because I don't know any mother on the planet who enjoys every aspect of motherhood. Motherhood is messy, and it's gritty, and it's sometimes confusing, and it can be anguishing, not because of things our kids are doing, but just the idea of loving and caring for these little precious people who go through things just like we go through things. And so that dynamic just simply doesn't make it easy to be a mom. It's not like the easiest thing in the world to do. And it is a 24/7 occupation. And oftentimes we say it is a thankless job, because kids aren't necessarily going to say, hey, thanks, mom, for doing this, doing that. And that's okay for a season when our kids are little, and we got to learn to thank ourselves in the process. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about, like, what is joy in the first place and how it relates to us as mothers. So joy. Sorry, I had to get my coffee. Joy is a delight of the mind to enjoy or to have or possess with pleasure, or to have pleasure in the possession of. So to be a mom, have joy is to have a delight in the mind when you consider what you do as a mother, your role as a mom, being a mother. Not This has nothing at all to do, and I want to repeat this. This has nothing to do with the love that you have for your children. I am talking about enjoyment and fulfillment as a mother, not how much you love your children. Nobody's questioning that. We know you will go to the ends of the earth to do whatever it is that your children need for your children. But there is a tendency for moms to struggle with just like, sometimes it's not even in the heart. It's just simply in the mundane aspect of motherhood. It just seems like it never ends. It's just one kind of repetitive task after the next. And you're just kind of like, really? Is there more to this than that? And no, I'm not going to, I just want to say this up front. I'm not going to say that you should find a passion to pursue. I'm a huge proponent of finding your passion and pursuing that. But I'm not going to say that on this list, that to enjoy motherhood, that you should go and find yourself a passion, because some of us are just so darn busy and we're doing exactly what God told us to do. And so again, I'm not here to put more pressure to say, okay, you got to go pursue something else to then enjoy motherhood. There is joy that is baked right into the aspect of being a mom. And so I want to explore what that means and what that looks like. So again, there is a place in motherhood to have a sense of a delight of mind, to enjoy just being a mom, to have pleasure in the aspect of being a mom. So why is joy so important for mothers? Joy is important for moms. It's not just important for you. And so I think it's kind of obvious to state why joy in motherhood is important for you as a mother. Obviously, nobody wants to walk around feeling miserable. Nobody wants to walk around feeling like, oh my gosh, this is such a burden. I'm so overwhelmed all the time. I'm stressed. I'm burnt out, and it's just too much. So everybody understands that. So I'm not here to talk about that, but there is an added benefit, obviously, to you having a joy in motherhood, and that is for your family. Okay. So oftentimes what we do is we neglect the necessity for having joy in motherhood, and we neglect the things that we need to do to care well for ourselves as mothers, because we feel as if I need to remove doing these things so that I have enough time to go over and do the things that I need to do for my family. So I neglect the things that I need to do for myself emotionally. I neglect the things that I need to do for myself physically and mentally. I'm in the process right now of creating a post about emotional self-care strategy for moms, and it's going to be hugely powerful. So we're going to do that in about 2 weeks. And so I'm really excited, and I'm kind of in that wavelength, because it is so important for us to make sure that we're good emotionally, so that we are in a place that we're able to serve our families well. So that extra benefit, why is joy so important for mothers, is so that we can do what we're called to do as moms, and we're not angry and short and irritated and cranky. I mean, I lived in that place as a mom for so many years in my early days, just struggling. Why am I so irritated? Why? And trust me, I'm wound up like super tight, personality wise. And so I can get stressed out in like a nanosecond. I need to have things in order. I need to figure some stuff out. I'm a work in progress, but I am not where I was. And so with me knowing how I'm wired, I need to know what's going to happen. I need to have it scheduled. I need to understand things. It's harder for me to go with the flow. I need to be aware of how I am wired and how I tend to function. I need to be aware intimately with the things that tend to trigger me, so that I can do the things that I need to do to protect my joy in the process. Because, and I feel like I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but I'm wrapping it up. The reason why it is so important is so that our family can get the best of us. So we're busy trying to serve them, do for them. And we're emptying ourselves out. We're never filling ourselves back up. We have no sense of joy or satisfaction in what we're doing. And then these kids and our spouse and partners have a cranky woman in the house that's always barking orders at them, and is always short with them, and is always like, you need me again. And again, I know that's a reality. It was my reality, and I have to fight against that on a daily basis, weekly basis, depending on what's going on. I can easily flow back into that personally. So that is why, because when we have more joy, our family gets a better version of us, who we are. Let me just, and if you are here, please, if you're here live, go ahead and type in the comments, #live, and let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you are on the replay, I want to make sure to welcome you if you're on the replay, and also just type in #replay and type in where you're tuning in from as well. And then if you have any questions while I'm on this live broadcast or on the replay, type your questions in as it relates to joy in motherhood, things that you're thinking about, things that you're popping in your head as I'm talking right now, because at the end, I'm going to have a live Q&A and I'm going to answer those questions live. So I want to put out this scripture here first. This is one of my favorite verses, Romans 15:13. It says, I pray that God, the source of hope, will fill you completely with joy and peace. Peace is awesome, because you trust in him. Then you will overflow with confident hope through the power of the Holy Spirit. So this scripture is saying, I pray that God, the source of hope, will fill you completely with joy. Completely. That's all the way. And there's nothing left out after completely. He will fill you completely with joy. So that means there is a joy in every aspect of our lives that God wants to fill us up completely with joy and peace because we trust in him. So this whole process, I want to make sure I'm giving you very practical advice, practical steps to follow. But I just want to keep it in the forefront of your mind that the things that I'm sharing, I want you to know that I'm coming from a standpoint of faith and trusting that as I go through very practical steps, because I like to keep things very simple. I am not going to get deep with you. I am going to be very simple and very practical so you can actually walk out the things that I am sharing in each and every one of my blog posts and videos, and give you very practical examples. But I want you to know just outright that I'm always going to come from a place of biblical faith and aspect of how does this line up with scripture. And so if I'm saying if I'm saying that we're talking about joy in motherhood, and the Bible says that as we trust in him, that he wants to fill us up completely with joy, then I need to be in expectation of the fact that being filled up completely with joy is not only God's will, but it's possible. And so here are some things that we're going to talk about that are actually things that we tend to do that actually steal our joy as moms. So as I go through these things that we tend to do that steal our joy, we'll kind of talk about how we flip those around and give you exactly what you need to do. So let's go through here. The first one is that we don't concentrate on connection. We don't concentrate on connection. So oftentimes when we're dealing with our kids, the thing that we think about, like, what is it that makes me lose joy in motherhood? Or what's the opposite of joy? Irritation, annoyance, anger, overwhelm, burnout, all those negative things. What's the first thing that you think of? And put in the comments below, what's the first thing you think of when I say those, as for a trigger or a cause for you feeling all of those negative emotions? Oftentimes, probably one of the first things that come to mind is my kids ain't listening, or it's my kids. They're doing this or doing that, or they're not. I'm having to yell in order to get them to respond. So it's something that focuses on some type of correction or something that's happening around the atmosphere. And I kind of assume naturally that it's them that's causing me to feel a lack of joy or an abundance of frustration in that moment. And so what I want to do is urge you to do what I have learned to do over the last several years. So I used to focus a lot on correction or nagging and yelling and trying to get them to do what I need them to do. And I had just a moment between me and God after I had gone through a very long season of just being angry and yelling all the time, and realizing I'm tired of feeling like that's all I do is yell and I'm angry. I'm yelling and I'm angry and I'm tired of it. And so I got before God, really spent a season, I'm talking about a year, of just spending time in prayer and hearing what he would have me to do. And have learned that connection was something that I was missing. I was focused on what they were doing. I was focused on the outward manifestation of a lot of things. But what I was missing more than anything was the connection. And so I really took time to focus on actually connecting with my children. And so I will tell you that this has revolutionized my household and the relationship that I have with my children. I have a teenager, I have a tween, and I have a 5-year-old. And so I know that there are things that I'm dealing with now, not necessarily terrible things, but dealing with now as a parent with these 3 kids at these 3 stages, that if I was where I was, I probably would have like just lost it. Not that it was a terrible situation, but just emotionally, I would not have been able to process it. And so when we are having, like, let's just say my son, he is a boy. I have 2 older daughters, and he has very strong emotions. He is literally one of the sweetest, most compassionate children that I have met. I adore this kid. He's very sweet. But when he gets upset, he gets very angry. And so I'm not used to that. I mean, I guess it's the testosterone thing or whatever. But I know for a fact that if he was like my firstborn and he was dealing with the same stuff before I had gone through this journey, I would have been focused so wholeheartedly on correction. You are not going to yell. You are not going to do this. And again, I want to make sure I'm specific that he is not being disrespectful to me. He's just dealing with big emotions and trying to understand how to process those. And this woman who I have grown into becoming over the years is now able to take my son and sit down with him and have a conversation and really truly connect with his heart and help him to diffuse the anger that he is going through, versus yelling and me being fearful of his emotions and me taking him up, and then he's feeling chaotic and I'm feeling chaotic. And now there's so much chaos in the relationship that he's angry and I'm angry, and there's no connection. So that is a huge joy sucker and joy stealer in our days. So focusing on connection helps to diffuse situations, both in the present and down the road. So, and again, I said I have a teenager. So oftentimes they'll be kind of, typical teenager eye rolling and things like that I don't like. And I know you don't like, but it's a reality of having a teenager that's kind of growing and adjusting and learning how to process them, learning their place in the world, all that good stuff as a teenager. And so what I do is I focus on connecting, asking questions, having conversations over constant. It's not that there is no correcting going on in the house, but it's almost like there's 5 connections before we get to the corrections. So it adds so much more fulfillment and joy, and it helps the rest of the days work themselves out. And it makes it so much easier, because if you don't have connection and your kids start kicking up and acting like a fool, it is so much harder to discipline. It is so much harder to get things back on track, because all you're doing is just getting at them. Okay, you can ask them lovingly what they're going through. They're more likely to confide in you. They're more likely to trust what you say and feel comfortable. And then it just makes the process so much easier and enjoyable, might I add. Because every part, again, of motherhood is not enjoyable. So the second one is that we let comparison dictate our value. We let comparison dictate our value. So we're constantly looking on social media. I mean, you're on social media right now. So you're on Facebook, you're scrolling on Instagram, you're doing different things. So you're looking at all these images of what other mothers are doing. You're looking at other mothers at your school, at your church, and we're always making judgments. We're always making comparisons, whether we like it or not. We are always comparing ourselves, whether we want to admit it as much as we do. We just do. And some of us more than others. So comparison is essentially a part of the human condition. We need to be aware of it, and we need to teach ourselves not to compare. But the part of comparing is a normal thing. Okay, so as you go through it, and you're like, well, I wonder how she did this. She posted that story. Oh, she looks so pretty. She looks so put together. But I feel like, when I wear the high-waisted pants, my pooch is more pronounced than hers. She looks all flat-stomached when she's wearing her pants. We're always comparing. Oh, her house looks so gorgeous. My house is always looking a mess. I can never keep it clean. When the in-laws stop by my house, it looks like an explosion happened. But my friends, I go by her house, and her house always looks amazing. So comparison is a way of life, but it should not ever dictate our value. You are valuable as a mother the way you are, the way that God created you. You come to the table in a very unique way for your children. So I have friends who, I adore them, but I am not wired like them, and I'm not trying to be like them. So I have some friends that when we go out on play dates, or, if we do that kind of thing, they'll usually have like all the snacks, all the activities. They'll have everything ready. They'll have, diapers, pull-ups. And me, I'm like always like looking at the bottom of the purse, trying to scrounge up some kind of remainder of a leftover fruit snack pack from like last week. And I've had so many instances where my poor kids had to eat someone else's snack because the mother was like, sure, you can share, so-and-so's snack. And I'm like, yeah, I'm usually never prepared. I'm always running a little bit late for whatever I'm going to. But the point is that, I can do better. Sure, I can do better. But there is a uniqueness in how God wired me. I'm not saying that God wired me to not be prepared or be on time or be disorganized and not pack snacks. But there is a certain aspect of my personality that does lend itself directly to my children. And I don't care. Honestly, I divinely believe that if however you became a mother, whether you birthed them from your womb or any other means, because we become mothers in a lot of different ways, that God brought that child to you and you are fit for that child. That's just what I believe. And so comparing yourself to someone else as how they are, and then saying that I'm not as valuable as them, it's what they call a fool's errand. You're just taking up space in your mind. It's a negativity that doesn't need to be there. You need to own who God made you to be. And if there's something that you want to improve, like punctuality or packing more effective snacks for your kids and making sure you're ready, then work on that and say, okay, I want to do that. But there are other things that I do. I'm spontaneous, and well, I'm not saying I'm spontaneous. I'm not necessarily the most spontaneous person, but you may be. And so that's something that you may have that your other mom friends don't. So don't focus on what everyone else is doing. Just focus on how you show up and serve your kids well. The next one is that we focus on the minutes over the moments. So this is a huge one. Huge, huge, huge. Think of bath time. Okay, you're putting your kids to bath to the bedtime. That is like prime real estate for moms. At the end of the day, it's like the end of the day. We're so close. I'm so close, right? And you're thinking, okay, I need to get this bath water out. I'm counting down the minutes just so I can get this kid or these kids out of the bath and get them wrapped up in their blanket, put them on their jammies, read a couple stories, tuck them in, and then the evening is over and I am to myself. When we're rushing through the days, we're rushing through the minutes trying to get to the next thing, instead of just saying, if I'm going to be here observing the bath time, if I'm going to be here and looking at what's going on, and I'm physically in this location, I guess I should say, then why not we be here mentally and emotionally, be in that moment. Put your phone down, stop counting the minutes, and just look at the moment. Okay. I have had so many experiences with my son. Okay. I have 2 older girls. So I've had a lot of experience counting the minutes, but I am doing so much of a better job now with just trying to capture the moments, because I know, as they say, that the years are long. What is the thing? The days are long, but the years are short. So, but capturing those moments, trying to be present in the moment. If I'm already there for bath time, I'm not going anywhere. Why do I need to keep trying to just get through? But just be like, oh my gosh, look at him. He is just growing so big. Look at those little feet. He's just getting so big. Look at, oh, look how he's pouring I don't know, whatever. You know what I mean? Like wherever you are, try to be present and in the moment. I tell you, there are golden nuggets and golden moments that are tucked away in those super mundane, everyday, day after day scenarios that are happening, that are beautiful moments if you just look up. And I've had so many circumstances like that where I have looked up and I'm like, oh, I would have missed that. I would have missed that if I was just rushing through the moment. And so that's how we capture our joy. And I want to take a pause for just a second before I go on to 4, because I just had a reminder of this. We do not have control over all of the circumstances happening in our life. And many of us are dealing with very undesirable, very challenging, very hard seasons and moments and circumstances. You can't control that. And I know that those things are stealing your joy, sucking the hope right out of every moment of your day. And you feel like all you're doing is being consumed by that situation. You're like, well, how can I have joy when I'm dealing with such a difficult, trying time? And all I'm saying now to you is one, this too shall pass. It always passes. All the storms do pass, even though they're hard to get through. But I want you to know that you can't control. I'm not asking you. God is not asking you. He says, count it all joy when you find yourselves in various temptations and tribulations. He's saying, count it all joy. But you're not going to enjoy being in that situation. It is going to be a temptation to feel miserable in that situation. You can't control it. Oftentimes it is happening to you. The only responsibility that you have, and what I'm going through in these steps, is controlling and being able to have an influence over what you are able to control, not switching or creating an entirely new situation. You take that to God, give it to Him. He will work it out for you. But in the meantime, while you're in this everyday space, and you can control whether or not you're going to focus on the minutes over the moments. You can control whether or not you're going to focus on connection over just simply correction. We can control these things. But I just wanted to if you're sitting here thinking, yeah, but I'm going through this or I'm going through that. I get it. And so you're in that season. And so God is not telling you, and I'm not telling you to just be happy in that situation. No. Just think happy thoughts. No, that's it's what they call toxic positivity. Just mask it with happy thoughts. No, but we are going to, on purpose and with intention, work through the things that we can change so that we can create enjoyable, joyful moments. We can create the opportunity for more joy in our days and in our moments by the things that we choose to think about throughout our days. So let me know if you understand what I'm saying when I say that. Okay, so number 4 is that we don't embrace the season of motherhood we're in. This is a big one. Last week, I actually had, so you can check out, if you're on my YouTube page or on my Facebook, you can scroll and see the how to own the season that you're in. So I went through an entire video talking about this topic, but this is important because it does impact our joy. And so if you are in a tough season, like what I just talked about, so when I say season, you may be in just a tough financial season, you may be in a tough marital season, but even as a mom, you're in a busy season. So maybe you have a newborn who's not sleeping, or toddler who's regressing, or a teenager who's going through something physically or emotionally and difficulty, and you feel like you are just like you don't have time for anything else. It's just consuming you. Take a moment and just embrace the season that you're in. And then when I say embrace it, don't resist it. Don't try to push against it, but sometimes just making the adjustment in that season. So if you're in a new season and it's challenging, but you're trying to do everything that you're used to doing before you got into that new season, you're going to wear yourself out. You're not going to be able to keep up with what you were doing before. And so it's really important to make sure that you know the season you're in, just embrace it. If it's one of those seasons where you're like, oh Lord, I don't want to embrace this at all. It is the worst season I have ever been in my entire life. Then, allow Him to show you what you need to get from this season. Embrace where you are and say, Lord, if there's something I need to learn, if it's something I need to grow through, give it to me as quickly as I possibly can so I can get on through this as quickly as I can. But if it's just a season of just exhaustion because of children issues or other things, then just embrace it where you are. Do all of those other things and then make the adjustments. If you need to make adjustment of time, make an adjustment of time. If it's an adjustment of switching things around, then switch things around. Embrace the season and make it easier for yourself. And the last one is that we tend to struggle in silence. So we sit here and we may watch a video or we may read a blog post, but we still sit and struggle in silence. One of the things, I have a free Calm Mom formula guide where I walk moms through the 4 simple steps to live a calmer way of life. I will link it in the description. It's completely free to you to log into it. I'm sorry, download it. And so one of the things, I have a survey at the end just to get feedback, and all the moms that go through it are loving it. But one of the things that they say at the end is that, honestly, I get this comment over and over and over again. I just didn't know. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm not alone anymore. I feel like the revelation that I was struggling on my own, and I feel like, wow, it's a huge revelation to know that I'm not the only one who felt this way. And so it's a sense of freedom of knowing that you're not the only one. And let me tell you, if you're struggling with joy in motherhood, you are not alone. You are not the only one. Moms all over the world are going through seasons in motherhood, and they are struggling. And so we have to help each other out. We got to stick together. We have to lift each other up and support each other. So if it's in a group, if it's putting comments and just creating a community, I have a supportive community. And so that's what I'm trying to build. That's why I'm creating these videos. That's why I'm actually going live versus just recording YouTube videos previously, because I want to have an interaction. I want you commenting. I want to have a conversation with my community and build a supportive group of amazing mothers who really want to come together and live an abundant life, the one that God promised for us. And so we're not looking for perfection. We're not looking for just, yay, we're happy all the time, everything is awesome. No, because that's not realistic. But we want to, this is a community of moms who are real about motherhood, real about the struggles, real about the challenges and the difficulties, but also real about the God that we serve, and knowing that He promised us to give us joy and fill us up completely with it. And we're just trusting Him. We're trusting Him, and that's when He is filling us up. So with the things that we covered in here, these are the things that we can control. These are very simple and practical things that we can do to increase the level of joy that we have in our days. So now it is Q&A time. Let me just peek over here to the comments and see if anybody has left me any questions. I had some questions from my other group prior to this, so I'm going to go ahead and take this off and ask. It is certainly okay if you are on my email list and you ask a question. Many women want to remain anonymous, and so that's perfectly fine. So I'm going to go ahead and answer these 2 questions. The first being a really great question, which is really, what's the difference between joy and happiness? So I have a tendency to, not because I'm ignorant of the fact, I usually interchange these words. I have a good understanding of what these words mean, so I'm going to go ahead and share them with you. And I'm saying that because I'm talking about joy in motherhood, but I'm doing the episode on the Happier Mom Show, so I get it. True definition of what the heart of joy versus happiness is joy is an inward knowing that it is well. It is a delight on the inside, something that you are able to cultivate, something that you are able to choose, and something that you are able to practice experiencing. Happiness, on the other hand, is closely related to joy. But if we were to have to pinpoint the difference, joy is something that you're able to decide to have, versus happiness is more of circumstances. So I'm happy that I have money in the bank, and so I'm excited about that. Or I'm happy that we're going on vacation. So, but what about when something not so happy happens? What happens then? And so this is where, when things aren't so good, this is where joy really takes a rise and is there to help guide us through. So happiness is specifically typically used to describe circumstances. I'm happy, I'm just feeling happy. But when you're not happy and things aren't great, I can have an inward joy knowing that I am still going to be okay, and that this situation, not only will it pass, it will work out for my good. And so I can have an inward knowing that not only I have the joy, but I'm able to actually just choose joy. Just like love. Love is not an emotion. Love is a decision, and it's a choice. And so the same thing with joy. Now, the reason why I'm calling it the Happier Mom Show is just simply because, they're closely related. Happier is a much more approachable term. And it's happier. I'm not promising that if you listen to my episodes and as you read my blog, that you're just going to be the most happy mom ever and you're just going to enjoy every second of motherhood, because I don't think any of us do. But it's happier, happier. I'm a whole lot happier today than I was 5 years ago as a new mom, a whole lot happier. So that's really what I'm trying to cultivate. And so, because the the motto, if you will, is that happier moms are raising happier families. And so, because it's all about, it starts with you as the mother, and then it trickles down into your family. You're the heart of the home. And so if you're struggling to have any kind of positive emotions, your family and the culture inside your home is going to struggle as well. So it's really important for us to have a good grasp and understanding of joy for ourselves. And the last question is, how can I feel joy when all I can see is this awful thing I'm going through? So I think I really touched on that a bit earlier, which is really just being able to understand that we can't control the circumstances. We're not able to just in and of ourselves wish and will away these negative circumstances. But what we can do is not only can we stand in faith, but we can still choose to have joy in the things that we're able to control. We can do the steps that we laid out today and go through those things we can control. Those things can open up the door. I mean, circumstances are there and they're going to make you feel awful. So we can either choose to wallow in the awfulness of it. It's different if you're going through a season of grief or loss. But there are also other seasons that are just tough seasons that we have to be tough in. So depending on what that season or what that level of awful is, just trusting God to give you the peace that you need and the sense of peace and comfort through that. But there are also things that He will have you to do to move through that. And having joy means having joy in the good times and also in those difficult times. So let me just check just to make sure. Okay, I want to make sure I didn't get any other comments. So I'm going to go ahead and close. I appreciate each and every one of you, those who tune live as well as those who tune in on the replay. I can't wait until I see you again next week for episode number 5. I will be taking a brief break for the week of Thanksgiving, but next week we will be back for episode 5, and I can't wait to see you then. Bye.